Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, April 26, 2012, and it's 11:19 a.m. That's U.S. Eastern Time Zone. My name is Inta Mitterbach, and I'm in Lakewood, Ohio, of the United States. This is an amateur audio broadcast of which I am bringing to you through Northern Border Broadcast Production, and that's a fictitious entity. The temperature outside, it really is, or was when I checked it just a little while ago, 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Cloudy. The photograph there in the background was the sky to the west at 9:04 a.m. and the photo in the top corner was photographed at 8:02 a.m. and that's a photo of the sky to the east. And so anyway, I have a paper here that I was going to share with you and maybe throw in some comments. And this was a paper that I did, and it was just supposed to be basically an article review, kind of some comments, a one-page thing. And I apologize, I don't have the author or the details with regard to the article. It was for a Psychology 1010 class at Cuyahoga Community College that I did this paper with Professor Larry Sprouse, and that was in the summer of 2004. And, excuse me, while I was working on my associates in science. And that's my dog Kamet jingling in the background, if you can hear that. But anyway, the article, and I don't have a lot of details because this was just a one-page thing, and it was very, I don't know, I didn't spend a lot of time on it. The article was Obey at Any Cost, and I think there was a subtitle which indicated, or something that indicated that this is a behavioral study of obedience. And it was, I think, appeared in the Journal of Abnormal and Social Psychology. And this is what is referred to as a response, of which I did 4 extra credit in that class. And and I'll try to read this. I don't know if I have quotations cited. I think this is just all kind of my comment about the article. Maybe I should just read it and comment afterwards, but here goes. And I'll try to stay on track because I have a tendency to tangent quite a bit with thought. But anyway, it says, the article discusses the degree of harm that individuals were willing to administer to others in a situation perceived to be a potentially painful one for the subjects undergoing shocks. The individuals administering the harm were able to discontinue participation in the study and could have refused to administer painful shocks to others. And who could have refused? I'm kind of getting lost here. I don't know if this is what. Anyway, in the majority of participants who were administering the shocks, the test instructions were followed, even to the levels of what was perceived to be very painful to the individuals being shocked. And I don't necessarily, this is kind of a response because I think everyone was familiar with the article. And in case you're not familiar with the article, I think basically what was going on, and this was, I read the article 8 years ago, so I'm not going to have a complete recollection of the article, but basically I think what was going on was there was an experiment, there were some ethics issues with regard to, and psychology issues, studying psychology, but there were also some ethics issues that I noticed, a lot of issues that I noticed actually, but basically what they were doing was they were imposing a shock and increasing the level of shock upon a human subject, and it was the persons participating in the study. That I guess and I don't know all the terminology here, but basically they had people who agreed to participate in an experiment. I think they were paid, and they had to do what they were told to do. They obey at any cost. And what they were told to do is to shock an individual, of which was on the other side of a wall, and they could not see it, but they could hear the individual's reaction in terms of pain and whatever their response was. They could hear the individual on the other side of the wall, but they could not see the individual. So the people participating, they were to shock the individual and increase the shock until they were told to stop shocking the individual. And so it was basically an experiment to see how much harm could be potentially caused to someone because people obeyed basically an authority figure. And and I'm not sure if that's exactly why the experiment was conducted, but I think it had to do with authority figures and doing what you were told to do, and that alone opens up a huge just think about that. Think about who the authority figures are, the authorities, and who do. We're all kids, and at one point in our life, and we're all told to do what we're told to do by the people that tell us to do those things, of whom are the authority figures. And so those are teachers and doctors and police officers and whoever are parents, and they aren't always right. But anyway, here it goes. I'm continuing with the paper here. I think about peer pressure, the roles of individuals in groups, and the influence of others depending on what the position of authority is perceived to be. Some people are considered or perceived to be stronger than others. Some people lead and some people follow. I had a personal experience when I was younger and more naive involving a supervisor who made an advance. And because of his position, my admiration and respect for him, and the circumstances of the event, I was taken advantage of, deeply hurt, and left feeling very guilty because I was married and he was married. I had very strong moral and ethical values and found myself in situations that compromised and or threatened my integrity. And as I said, this is not necessarily, okay, this was, in comparison, contrast, whatever. If you want to compare and contrast, I don't know. I guess maybe I had not done something like this previously, but this was a response. Just, and I perceive that to be, okay, this is what comes to my mind in reading this thing. And I didn't necessarily spend a whole lot of time on it. It was a one-page thing. But maybe it wasn't an article review because my personal experiences in this case may not have been appropriate for incorporation. But I did go through some difficult situations, and I incorporated those difficulties into my academic work in college. And I had my personal experiences to evaluate and share and research and incorporate into my judgments and interpretation of things. But anyway, let me go on here. As a result of the situation, I lost my husband, left my job, and moved away from my children because of my bad experience with an authority figure and the events that transpired. I had a nervous breakdown. I was hospitalized in psychiatric institutions on 4 occasions. I have been misdiagnosed and medicated as schizophrenic. My world was turned upside down. And when I think about blind obedience, I think about the military cults and gangs. I am curious to what degree the military personnel must obey their commanding officers in acts that do not seem ethical, legal, or humanitarian to them. I did work for the United States Army, and my curiosity stems from my experiences. Fortunately, there are good people, and there are checks and balances in our systems that help to prevent much of what would be possible without question. And so, I think I have a lot more to think about because there was some issues with regard to stem cell research. I did wind up completing an associate's degree in science, of which I used physics and astronomy classes to complete my science requirements. And so there's issues with regard to ethics and technology and psychology and authority, and let's, in terms of authority, who's in charge at NASA, and what if, I think there was something about the shuttle that went up and the O-rings. There was some sort of question, and let's be sensitive, because this has already been evaluated and investigated, and this is a dead horse that's been beat to death. But what is history? I mean, we just read it over and over and over and beat it to death. So anyway, the O-rings, and that's got to be terribly painful for the people involved in that. And I think the O-rings were made in Alabama, and those were found to have been a problem for the shuttle that crashed. And I think that was back in 1986, and early in 1986. And I saw that happen when I was here living in Cleveland, and I wound up moving to Huntsville, Alabama, and living there, married and family and stuff for 10 years, and eventually working for defense contractors, and supporting the United States Army. And I'm going to lose my thought again, but off on another tangent. That was difficult, and I lost it. I just got a little shout from someone in the peanut. They just got a little distraction. So what was my point? My point was with NASA and the disaster that happened. There was a story. The story had something to do with, there was suspicion. There was someone that actually may have. I don't know if there was actually, or if they were trying to find out if there was a problem, that they tried to stop the launch because. And I don't know if the engine, in terms of authority, is everyone given the authority to stop a project or mission or something? That who gives the go? Is it a hierarchy of command? I mean, the military is based on a hierarchy of command. What if someone at the bottom says, "No, you can't do that"? And I don't know anything really. I mean, I do know a few things, but I've never been in the military, so I don't know how that works. And in terms of working for the government, I did manage to get to NASA and try working at Glenn Research Center as a volunteer for 6 months, and then as an employee to a subcontractor for 6 months. And I couldn't get past the small problems that I had, and I didn't know how to handle them. And, then you think in terms of pushing a button. When you push that button, how do you do that, and what's the effect of pushing that button? And if you're anticipating a crisis and or a disaster or something like that, definitely you have to push a button. But I mean, how do you even do that? I guess with I encountered a few problems when I was at NASA, and I guess I tried to contact people. I think I made a couple calls to NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. and left some messages. But, what if they've got problems too? Push those buttons, and how do you push those? And then when I was working in Cleveland at Glenn Research Center, I was supposed to work with try to accomplish something in conjunction with people at Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, and I think I was supposed to somehow reach an individual who had a disc that was used. I was doing like the astronaut photos that you are at the air shows and go. I did that a couple times, among other things, and so I was supposed to, and we were working on trying to set up a kiosk for basically, I don't know, kind of a public information type thing. I don't know if it was really public relations, and I'm not sure what the correct terminology is, but basically, a kiosk set up that had a display of which was informative to the public. So I guess I think of public relations as being something like good relations, make sure you've got a good image, that kind of thing, make us look good. But this, I got the impression this was kind of like, inform the public. It was a public information service. So it was going to be a kiosk, and I was supposed supposed to get a disc from someone in Huntsville at Marshall Space Flight Center. I couldn't reach her, and I tried. I think I tried making several calls. Couldn't locate the disc. Couldn't locate the person that was supposed to have the disc. I had absolutely no luck. Never did get the disc. The disc was for a kiosk that was going to be set up and put together and produced in Cleveland at Glenn Research Center, and that was one of the tasks that I was assigned. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't reach the people. I couldn't reach and I tried calling several people, and as it turned out, I wound up being fired for a couple reasons. One person said to me when I worked at Glenn, you really don't know what you're doing, do you? And I was new, and I had only worked there for about 6 months, and I don't recall. I had called someone else. I think one of the things that they had asked me to do was they had, after I was a volunteer there for 6 months, they offered and invited me to become an employee of a subcontractor, which was, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but it was BTAS Incorporated, BTAS, which is in Beavercreek, Ohio, down by Dayton, Ohio. And so now the dog wants to play, and the dog is like, my dog Kamet is like Velcro. She needs attention 24 hours a day, and that's difficult. And so and she's being extremely distracting with me because she's following me around, pushing her nose into me as I'm trying to make this recording, and she really wants to play with me and the toys right now. So it's just like having a little toddler, trying to do something and having a toddler glued to you 24 hours a day. So kind of a difficult home office situation. But anyway, this is kind of my audio broadcasts are sort of an attempt to try to figure out what I'm going to do professionally. And but anyway, back to the kiosk. I was invited to become an employee, and there's Kamet again. I guess I have to take care of my little baby puppy here. Little baby puppy Kamet needs to be taken care of. I can't go get a job. I've got now a new responsibility to take care of my little baby puppy, so I have to stay home and I can't go to work. And so there's the kiosk thing. I was invited to become an employee with BTAS as an administrative assistant to the visitors center that was there at Glenn Research Center, and and then after. This is really difficult because this is a distraction challenge here. Kamet just really wants attention now. She knows exactly. It's kind of like mommies being on the telephone. The kids always need attention when you're on the telephone, and so Kamet needs attention. Excuse me. Kamet needs attention when I'm trying to work. Every time I sit down to the computer and try to do some work, that's when she needs attention. And so I was invited to become an employee at Glenn. And then I was, I think I was invited to consider the possibility of being public outreach administrator or public outreach specialist or something like that, of which it was my understanding would be traveling from place to place, universities, schools, and different, I guess the word is venues, whatever that means, and traveling to different places, air shows, I guess, maybe, and talking about NASA and what opportunities are there and what they're doing and things like that, and and do that while you've got a dog running back and forth. So, oh gosh, there's stuttering now. To talk about NASA and do some traveling. I did travel a little bit while I was there, and that gets old real quick. And I've completely lost my thought in tangents at this point. But obey at any cost. Where was I? Back to the beginning. In terms of pushing buttons, the story with the O-ring and the shuttle, I think there was something in the story that said someone knew that it should have been stopped, but they didn't get taken seriously, or they weren't able to get the information or the advisement or the opinion or whatever they had through the proper channels. I ran into problems when I was at NASA on a small scale with things, little issues of which you shouldn't really even have to deal with because, NASA's serious. NASA's science. NASA's a space program. NASA's got involvement in medical science, all of the sciences really, and there's really, it's too serious, too important, and probably most people take their business, whatever their business is, very seriously, and they don't have times for games and problems. And so anyway, the problems I had at NASA when I was working there, it was kind of like, oh, okay, now what do I do about this? Do I have to? Today is a good example. I have a bank account of which is $700 over. I found and it's not my money. It's like, where's this money coming from? And at one point I had $200 or $300 over my account. And where's this coming from? And the bank, it's Dollar Bank here in Lakewood, Ohio. They want to charge me $45 an hour to audit the account, of which is, it appears, their error. And I closed the account. Then they said I have insufficient funds, of which I didn't. And then there's like, oh, well, there's a technicality there. They froze the account. They didn't tell me they froze the account. And then I made payments over the phone. What are they? Not automatic checking account, but I made payments using the routing number on the checks, and then they charged me overdraft charges because they had frozen my account and they neglected to do so. And then speaking of that, the post office forgot to give me back my credit card, and that wound up costing me thousands and thousands of dollars because I didn't have that credit card. I had to use another credit card, and I think there was something else going on, and that little error where the post office neglected to give me back my credit card in terms of overall effect, I have no idea how many thousands of dollars that wound up costing me. And now this little error, they didn't tell me that they were freezing my account at my bank, and so it just goes on, and it's like these little problems. I think the woman at the bank that I talked to this morning, she's now charged me a $36 overdraft fee. Okay, well, my hourly rate as a geographer is $80 an hour, and I've got an attorney friend whose rate is, I think, $500 an hour. So let's sit down, the two of us, and how many hours is this going to take? Well, we'll sit down and figure out what's going here and how to take care of this problem because they've messed that up, the bank has. Let's just take care of this. Now, that's just one day's worth. Okay, well, we've got this little problem, and we have to write letters, and we have to make sure it's right, and we have to make phone calls, and we have to do this. Well, how much is your time worth? Well, the problem is that they did something they shouldn't have, or they didn't do something correctly, and it's costing me $36. So am I going to sit down with my team and spend potentially $10,000 a day trying to correct this $36 error, or is the $36? Forget about the $36. Here, take the $36, and just that's enough. Here's your $36. It's your error. I don't have the $10,000 a day to waste on my energy and my brain and my resources to handle and address that problem. And it just goes on and on and on like this. So, what is the value of your time, and what is the value of your brain, and what is the value of your effort and your resources? And this little error that they made here that they're going to get their $36. They're going to get it. They're going to get their overdraft. It's wrong. It's wrong. They're going to get their $36 overdraft fee because I'm not going to spend my $10,000 a day in resources battling their $36 error. There they go. They just walked away. And how many people are they going to do that to? Oh, well, that's really profitable, isn't it? That's really super profitable. They're going to make a lot of money with all those overdraft charges and all those mistakes and everything that they're doing, aren't they? And what else? And these problems at NASA, it's the same thing. You know, what is my job there? What am I supposed to be doing? What am I trying to accomplish? I was trying to engage in communication, whether it was email, telephone, or by mail. I was engaged in communications with people wanting to know more about NASA and what NASA was the work that NASA was doing. I was trying to help these little astronomers out there, these little high school and elementary school and junior high school and people around the country and around the world. I was trying to get that information out to them about astronomy and the planets and NASA and the astronauts and everything, because they really were seriously interested and they really did want to learn more about it and things. And who's got time for these problems? Now you know, I'm dealing with problems here at NASA, and I can't do my job. Let me just stop doing my job and take care of these problems. Oh, well, here we go. Here's a problem. We're going to throw cigarette butts all day long in the lawn on NASA. Oh, hold on. There's an ashtray right here. Now, smoke breaks. Okay. Some people smoke, and that's okay. And that's fine, and you're entitled to breaks and things, and I've smoked and I've taken breaks, but there's an ashtray right here, and let's just throw cigarette butts all over the lawn here. And I said to this individual, I said, you know, this is my NASA too, and I don't know if you realize it, but this is one of, if not the jewel of the United States, and you're just going to stand there throwing cigarette butts into the grass. And so I kept picking up cigarette butts. Now here's my job. I'm now picking up cigarette butts for my coworker at NASA. Okay, and so let me take care of that. And I tried talking to her. Now, do I need to go to my supervisor? How much what's his time worth? How much does he? Let me go to my supervisor and bring that to his attention. And now let's take how much is he worth, and how much time is he going to spend on it? Okay, so, that's enough. And geez, I mean, who even smokes at NASA? Seriously. I mean, anyone that really is interested in NASA and science and what NASA is trying to achieve, you don't even smoke. And you probably don't even have time for breaks. Who the heck is concentrating on when is it time to go home? When is it time for my break? And who the heck is concentrating on, let's get out of here. It's almost 5 o'clock and I mean, I've been guilty of kick me out the door because I'm still here working, and so. I mean, there's a lot of people seriously interested, and I'm off the topic on another tangent with more issues, but I guess the point here was obey at any cost, and you've got to be, blow the horn thing, blow the whistle, whatever it's called. How do you do that? And I've mentioned that previously, and you've got, I don't even know what the hierarchy is or the procedures, and I guess you try to do what you try to do, and hopefully the people at NASA are smart enough at that level, making those decisions, who are launching shuttles and designing the shuttle and all of that. Hopefully they are intelligent enough, and God, I hope they are, because I have thought about it so much, and I feel like I've thought about it throughout my lifetime, and there are people who have thought about it a whole lot more than I have, and I hope that they know what to do, because I think I got bumped out of the way by people that did not necessarily know as much as I did, or have as much, if you want to use the word passion, about NASA and science and space as I did. And so obey at any cost. If they how does that relate to NASA? Well, I don't know if I have a good example. I went on a tangent, but it made me think about those situations where, I think an accident did occur and the shuttle was launched, and I don't know if that was an obey at any cost type situation, but I did have at NASA, I guess maybe one of the reasons it makes me think about it is I did have some. And, I apologize because there might be children who access this, but, I did have some sexual harassment type issues at NASA, and unfortunately, and I really don't appreciate having to deal with that. I don't think that the people at NASA need to know what kind of panties I wear, and I don't think I need to look at pictures of women in lace lingerie at NASA, and that's not what I need to do, and that's not why I was there. And that kind of makes me angry. And I guess I've been there long enough to know. I just kind of, with regard to problems like that, I've always just kind of laughed them off and just kept going and tried to move forward and stay on my path and my focus without getting distracted. But when you get bombed by all these little assaults and harassments and everything, it's pretty difficult to stay on track, and it's pretty difficult to stay on focus and path and everything. So with those little eagles, I refer to them as little eagles, the kids that really look like they're on the right track and trying to do the right thing and ahead and above and beyond, I don't know, they've got. It's like we've got to make sure that they don't get. I don't know. In my case, I've made some mistakes, and in the case of some of those mistakes, I wasn't going out looking for those mistakes. Those mistakes came looking for me, and and again, this is not an obey at any cost, but with regard to NASA and little eagles, that really can lead this country someday and really are trying to do the right things and, stay ahead of the, I guess ahead of the pack of wolves who just want it for their pockets. There's a lot of people at NASA that got those jobs and aren't necessarily in it because they have a passion for NASA science and the space program and all it is. But what was I saying? I guess there are kids, and they aren't necessarily going to know what all of the dangers and hazards are, and it's unfortunate that they even have to learn about those dangers and hazards because that's more distraction. And I had a friend who was a police officer and a Marine, and he said that he was also a DARE officer. And I asked him specifically, what do you teach the kids? Because I was trying to find out, how can I help my kids? And I tried, I think eventually after my kids were grown up and, on their own, I was finally able to talk to them and, having gone through a divorce and not having my kids around and trying to make sure that I was as well equipped to try, should they have a parents' DARE, should the DARE program get the kids out of the DARE program, get the police officers. The DARE program should be for the parents. Why do the kids need to listen to that? They're sending police officers into the schools. I was told that it was scare tactics. Do the children really need to be any more scared than they are of the kids that are there, that are quite capable of scaring them? Do they really need a police officer coming into the school and scaring them? I was told that they use scare tactics on the kids. Why don't the police officers have the DARE program with the parents and teach the parents what the risks. My friend, who is really probably, I don't consider him my friend anymore, he would not share with me what it is that you teach children, so I could not make my own judgments and try to help my kids and make sure that they avoided any potential problems or hazards in their lives so that they didn't get distracted or so that their lives weren't ruined by the same types of problems. And, again, I'm sorry, I'm off on another tangent. There's that. The woman throwing cigarette butts in the grass at NASA said that everyone at NASA, a lot of people, not everyone, a lot of people at NASA do drugs. And, I don't think we need that. And I wasn't, when I worked there, I wasn't drug tested. And when I worked for a defense contractor, I wasn't drug tested. And I was also told that it was okay to lie on an FBI background, security background investigation form. And I was actually told, instructed to say no, that I had not used illegal. And I'm 48 years old, and I've got a history of the past where I've made some mistakes, and it's unfortunate. And I've considered things like, what's the best way to make sure that kids stay out of trouble so that they have a future. And again, this. Okay, so I turned a one-page paper into it's now over 30 minutes. So anyway, there are a lot of issues, and the O-ring thing in Alabama. I don't know if that's directly related. I don't know if. I'm sure. I am absolutely sure that if there was I guess, and I say this, because I do still believe in NASA to at least the degree that I believe that there are people there that are, have good values and good judgment and the education and the experience to do what is best with regard to that. But I think one of the stories was that an engineer had discovered something and was not able to bring that to the attention of whomever was above him to make sure that mission was at least postponed until the problem was corrected. And I don't remember what the story was, and I never got the full story. And I don't, it's like the only time you ever see a shuttle launch on TV is when it crashes. I mean, hold on. This is okay. What's going on here? I've only watched 2 televised shuttle launches, and both of them crashed. Now, how is it that in my entire life, how many shuttle launches? There's over 100 shuttle launches, shuttle missions. I think back in 2002 when I was working there, they were already up to STS 115 or something like that. And I think that at that time, which one? I think it was the Columbia that crashed, and that was in 2000. I think that was in 2003, January of 2003 maybe. But I've only watched 2 shuttle missions on television, and in both cases, those 2 televised missions crashed. Oh, okay, well, how smart am I? All right. Well, they didn't need to televise the other ones that weren't going to crash. It just so happened that the ones that they televised that I was watching actually crashed right there in my face. Okay. So, anyway, what was that? Should they all? I kind of thought they should all be televised. I'm kind of surprised they haven't. But anyway, I don't know if this is. I don't know. So there's my paper. I didn't incorporate the article. The article was obey at any cost, and I've used my classes. I'm now at a point where I'm on a leave of absence because I had a meltdown when I started a PhD program, and it's public policy for international non-governmental organizations, which are NGOs. I don't know a lot about it, but I'm speculating that it's probably organizations like Greenpeace, Amnesty International, Red Cross, maybe even the Cleveland Clinic. And the other question that I'm struck with is with regard to government work, federal work for the United States and contractors. Should contractors be for-profit businesses, or should they be nonprofit businesses in terms of organizations? Do we really want the contractors who are supporting the Department of Defense or the federal government in any way, military government, do we really want them to be profiting on the money being spent, the tax money being spent to provide? I mean, should we be profiting on the garbage refuse collection, the municipal refuse collection? Is that really? So I don't know. That was one of the thoughts that I had recently. It's kind of, and how much time am I going to spend thinking about that, whether or not the businesses supporting the government and the military should be for-profit or non-profit businesses and organizations. So there's another thought for you. But anyway, that all spewed out of the obey at any cost. And I think I'm going to stop there because it's now 11:58 a.m. and so have a great day, everyone. It's Thursday, April 26, 2012, now 11:59 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time Zone, and this is a Lakewood, an amateur audio broadcast. My name is Inta Mitterbach. I'm in Lakewood, Ohio. And those are the sky. That's the sky as viewed from right here in Lakewood, Ohio this morning, earlier at 8 and 9 o'clock this morning. And let's see, what can I tell you what the temperature is? It was 54 degrees earlier. It's now up to 56 degrees. It's getting warmer out there, and so it looks like it's still overcast. But anyway, have a great day, everyone. Thank you.